Americans or free blacks, a fact that may account for the African influence in much Southern cuisine, and explain the presence of such ingredients as okra and sweet potatoes, which were transported to the New World on slave ships. French colonists were present in America, however, mostly Huguenots, French Protestants, who settled mainly in Massachusetts, New York, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and South Carolina. Like every other immigrant group, they brought their culinary traditions to the New World, but they never introduced their country's haute cuisine to the American colonies. In fact, they disdained it, as did their English and Scotch-Irish neighbors, whose opinions resembled those of 18th century cookbook author Hannah Glasse. In her 1784 book, The Art of Cookery Made Plain and Easy, Glasse dismissed French cuisine as an odd jumble of trash, and denounced the blind folly of this age that would rather be imposed on by a French booby than give encouragement to a good English cook. The mainstays of American colonial cooking were primarily meats, boiled, roasted, baked, or stewed, breads, heavily sweetened desserts, and generally overcooked vegetables. An archaeological excavation at the Virginia home of the rabble-rouser and rebel Nathaniel Bacon uncovered piles of bones from such diverse animals as chickens, cattle, pigs, sheep, deer, and rabbit, as well as duck, geese, quail, and passenger pigeons. Nothing out of the ordinary among those items, but archaeologists also found the skeletons of turtles, catfish, sturgeon, bear, and even a bald eagle. Most surprising were the remains of frogs. Bacon's varied diet was probably representative of what other colonists ate too. Like their English counterparts, early Americans preferred their foods seasoned with garden herbs. Clove, nutmeg, allspice, and cinnamon were available, but their high cost made them prohibitive to most cooks, and caused spices to be used sparingly in colonial kitchens. Fresh fish appeared on the table from time to time, but aside from sturgeon and oysters, seafood dishes were not popular. The earliest settlers in Massachusetts were especially scornful of fish, a fact all the more extraordinary in a place where the nearby ocean teemed with cod, flounder, haddock, and sea bass, and the rivers, lakes, and streams flowed with trout, pike, bass, and catfish. When the Pilgrims gathered fresh, succulent clams and mussels, they invariably fed them to their pigs. The tidal pools near Plymouth were brimming with lobster, but the Pilgrims regarded the flavor of these crustaceans as bland and uninteresting. In his journal for the year 1622, William Bradford, governor of Plymouth Colony, recorded the landing of a ship filled with settlers from England. The arrival was a thrilling event, yet Bradford confessed that he and his fellow residents were humiliated to have nothing better than lobster to offer the newcomers. The Puritans of Massachusetts were devoted carnivores, and they shared the Native Americans' taste for wild game. The English had enjoyed venison and rabbit in the Old World, and deer and hares were abundant in the New World as well. The local tribes also introduced the English settlers to baked beans. The natives mixed the legumes with maple syrup in an earthenware pot, added a large piece of fatty bear meat, and then set the pot in a pit lined with hot stones to bake for several hours. The colonists adapted the recipe to suit their tastes. They preferred molasses as a sweetener and substituted salt pork for bear meat. The result was a dish that has become a New England classic. Food folklore tells us that throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, Saturday night in Boston was baked beans night. Recipes for this hearty dish can be found in the oldest surviving Yankee cookbooks. The Indians also introduced the European settlers to corn, which immediately became a staple of the colonial pantry. Later in Virginia.